Today is January 4th of the 1st, 2015. I'm Bitwise Guy, and today I'm titling this video Dynamics of the Internet and Where We're Going 6-12 months from now, really. That's not going to be the title in the actual video, but it'll be something pretty similar to that. So today I haven't got any tutorials or anything for you guys. I've just got a discussion, and I don't know, what can I put up? I'm going to put this up as the background. So recently I learned, well, a little while ago actually, I learned about the Trans-Pacific Partner Agreement, TPP for short, and what's, involved in doing that. So just a little background, and a little bit of a timeline here, and it's not exactly in this order, so anyone who's really been following super intensely, please correct me and I'll put little annotations of a timeline. But basically, back in 2010, 2011, if I can recall correctly, the United States tried to pass a bill called SOPA, also known as the Stop Online Piracy Act. Now, the idea behind the Stop Online Piracy Act was that, well, the public-facing idea, sorry, I should say, behind this bill was simply that they would be able to reduce the copyright infringement of individuals within the country in order to maximize profits for very large corporations. Now, very quickly, there was two sides to the argument. The first argument is that yes, any corporation, no matter how big, how small, should be allowed to make money because we live in a capitalist society. And we've all agreed under a democratic rule that if we have a company or a business or a corporation or an enterprise or whatever you've got, you are allowed to make money, right? And you are allowed to sell your ideas and you're allowed to make money. And that's okay, right? And I don't have a problem with that. And I'm sure some people have a problem with that. But for the majority, we've agreed that that's an okay thing to do, right? But there is a fine line between making money and infringing on people's personal freedoms and privacy for capitalist gains and capitalist ventures. Now, the Stop Online Piracy Act, mostly known to people as SOPA, completely overshot that. Like, so far overshot that they might as well have fallen off a flat world. Okay? Now, fortunately, there was such an uproar against that online and in real life, and especially in the US Senate, that it just didn't happen, okay? It didn't pass, and there was a lot of really, really angry corporate fat cats in Hollywood, and a little bit on the outside. They were pissed off, right? Publicly and non-publicly, they were, So we come to the next one, which was, it's the name of it slipped my mind, but a similar bill tried to pass through, and it didn't pass through shortly after SOPA. Okay? And again, there was still the whole, oh my god, SOPA just happened, stop. Everyone just stop, take a breather for 5 minutes. Okay? Now, the US, as far as I know, just recently passed a bill which allows greater copyright infringement and whatever else. In America at the moment, for the last sort of 20 years or whatever, 10 years, I can't remember exactly how long, they've had something called the Digital Millennium Copyright Act. The DMCA, for the most part, is actually a fair act. It walks the fine line quite nicely. But let's bring up to speed. Okay, so we're in 2015 now, and the internet is a dynamic place, right? So there's a lot of different people connected to the internet. Billions of people, in fact, connected to the internet. Lots and lots of devices and lots of information sharing. So, realistically, for the last sort of 5-10 years, we've had a fairly versatile and free and open internet, and it's allowed for some pretty cool things to come out of it, and some pretty, kind of nifty, if you will, nifty kind of things. Excuse me. So, corporations aren't making money out of this anymore. The bottom line here is where I'm getting with this is corporations, massive corporations, Sony Pictures, all those massive corporations, they can't make money out of the internet, right? The way that they're doing things. Now, they would rather take a totalitarian brute force approach to stopping people pirating things rather than what the music industry finally did, right? Look at Spotify, look at Google Play, look at all those streaming services. It doesn't take a genius to figure out that type of business model, right? Those types of models are what is required to still make money in this market. And if you don't believe me, go and ask Google, go and ask Spotify, go and ask all those streaming services how many people are signed up and how many people are paying them a monthly subscription fee, a yearly subscription fee. I can tell you that I'm one of those people that is paying. I'm paying for Google Play, and I will recommend it to everyone I see, okay? And am I a fan employing Google and Google Play and whatever else? Not really. Google does some dodgy things too that I'm not at all a fan of. But on a corporate interest, right? As far as a capitalist decision, right? And me as a consumer taking up something that is a legitimate service, Google does it nicely and Google Play does it nicely. Spotify and whatever else, they do it great from what I've heard as well. I haven't used them, but that's not the point here. We're not talking technical details. They have removed the need in Australia and in international markets to illegally consume content because they've priced it at a fair and accessible model to everybody. That is the ultimate thing that we have to talk about, is what is fair and accessible to the people. Now, you might say, well, a company's allowed to charge whatever they want, right? They're allowed to charge absolutely whatever they want, and it doesn't matter. They're a corporation and it's their property. You can sell a house for $10 million or you can sell a house for $1 million. It's your house to sell. And you would be correct. But just because you are legally able to do such a thing, it doesn't mean you will be able to do such a thing. See, there's a difference there, right? The difference is that you can price your house at $10 million, right? And nobody will buy it, right? If it's only worth $1 million, okay? But on the internet and in the media industry, it doesn't work like that. We get priced out of the market and we've got nowhere to go, right? It's not like, oh, provider A selling it at $30 and provider B selling it at $4. It's not like one's gone completely insane and they're selling it at some price no one will buy, but there's another provider there. It's just not like that. They're all priced. It's essentially global price fixing, right? Without saying it, it's global international price fixing because they can, right? So the thing is, right, is that they can't really do that. Yes, they can do it, but they can't. So then you have things like the Pirate Bay and whatever, and people just share it, right? One person buys it and they share it to everyone else. And there you go. There goes your price fixing, right? You decided that you were going to be greedy as a corporation and you've lost. Okay, that's all that happened. You lost. So how do you get back into the market? Well, it's not rocket science, and any 12-year-old can tell you with their pocket money that they can't afford, and most music that comes out these days, right? They just can't afford it. But they've got an internet connection and they can sure as hell afford to download it. So that should tell you something. That should tell you that what the music industry is slowly doing and actually at an exponential rate they're increasing the content available is to be able to stream it and to be able to pay to stream it, right? And that's working for them. So we have the TV and movie industry basically lagging behind at this point. And they've said, well, we don't want to do that because, that scares us and those models are not something we want. And to their credit, there are Netflix and services like that. But look what Netflix has to do, right? They are not allowed to just distribute their content all around the world. They are forced into regional contracts. So, of course, people in Australia and countries that do not have access to that, because we're forced into certain pricing models, well, what do? We just download it. Why? Because we don't have a choice, okay? And the thing is, right, is I'm not stupid and no one else in this country is, stupid enough to take the thing, well, we don't have the technology to get it here quick enough, right? Like bullshit, okay? Stop lying to us. Just stop lying to our faces. It's not complicated shit, There is a tier 1 fiber link between the US and Australia. In fact, it's probably a lot faster than tier 1, whatever it is. There's a massive fiber link, okay? Now, let's say you have a terabyte. Let's say one of your films is a terabyte, okay? How hard is it for you to push that terabyte of information to a distribution center or a distribution server, right, and distribute it out to all of the online places that we could be watching it, and to all the cinemas that can run it through a digital setup. They don't need to run it over film. In fact, I doubt many places still run film in their cinemas. And if they do, well, they can wait, okay? But that's not the point. The point is, it's all about the money, okay? They can wait a few months here and charge us double the price. And it's called the Australian tax, and I'm sure you guys have heard of it. It's called the Australian tax. And I'm not just complaining for us, right? Like, I'm sure it happens in a lot of other places, but I've not lived in any other places, so I'm not there to make comment. But we get screwed on so many things here, on electronics, on everything, and the Trans-Pacific Partnership Agreement only serves to further hurt the people of the countries that are signing up to it. Now, specifically, and I'm going to finish this up because I've been talking for a while now, but specifically, one really dangerous thing that is a byproduct of the TPP agreement within Australia is the ability for corporations to access your internet service providers' now mandated records. Now, the government tried to sweep this under the rug, and it never happened, and whatever else, and bullshit. We all know it's there. But starting this year, the government is signing a bill to mandate all your ISPs. So that's Telstra, Netspace, or Netspace doesn't exist anymore. iiNet, Westnet, whatever else you guys might be signed up with. On a federal level, they will be forced to keep a record of everything you do online. Now, they say metadata nondescriptly. Assume until you see a raw log, unedited, unfiltered, of what goes through those servers that they have to record. Assume that means everything, right? Assume that every packet of data, every single byte is stored in a massive cluster of servers, right? Like, assume that everything you do online is stored. And you might say, I don't give a shit, like, I'm not doing anything illegal, and, whatever, I don't care if people know I'm watching pornography, whatever, it doesn't matter. But it's not the point. The point is you're being violated, your rights are being violated, and it extends to, well, you might have an idea, right? Now, someone at the ISP can just take that idea, patent it, and then sue you for it. That sounds crazy? Well, wait for it to happen. Then I won't be so crazy. Because it will happen, okay? It will happen eventually. A side product of that is cost. We already pay a ridiculous amount for our internet here, and if you want some prices here, let me just go into Netspace. iiNet, and I'm with iiNet at the moment, and iiNet's an okay ISP. They're alright. They got good customer service, whatever else. Their local business practices are respectable, from what I can feel of them and dealing with them over the past couple of years. But their pricing model reflects everyone else's. And if I go into residential and I go into internet, just down here, ADSL broadband plans. Here you go. That is not cheap, okay? $70 a month for 500 gigabytes of data. That is not cheap by anyone's standard. 1,000 gigabytes, a terabyte for $90 a month on ADSL 2+. That is not cheap, okay? But that is cheap compared to what's going to have to be charged to us, the consumer, if these ISPs are forced to basically backlog all of the data. You can't even imagine how much data is going to have to be kept, right? Even if no binary data of things you download, like the movie file itself, the executables you download, whatever, even if those aren't kept, which I'm sure that they will not keep, right? They would rather close down than keep those sorts of things. That's just too much data. Even the trace of, okay, you connected to each point, right? And you might go through 10 different servers, whatever you connected to. You might make 30 connections a second when you connect to a website, 50 connections, it doesn't matter. You might open heaps of different connections. If you know how the internet works these days, and you know how networks work, you're not just making one connection, you're making 30 connections, 10 connections, whatever, to a single endpoint, to a website, right, to a game server, to whatever. Now, your ISP has to keep that somewhere, and they have to keep that for 2 whole years. That is data retention like you can't even... if you want a number on that, I'd say per person, per year, that'd be terabytes of data, right? Like terabytes and terabytes of data, depending on how heavy, your internet use is. Now, for a big corporation that uses the internet, or for, alright, let's say Facebook Australia, right? Because Facebook has localized servers and CDN and stuff. They're not exempt from this, okay? Facebook and those companies are not exempt from this in the slightest bit. Google is not exempt from this. Okay, their ISP, they may be their own ISP, but they have to charge more as well, right? They are forced into a data retention policy anyway. So that'll be petabytes of information, right? Petabytes, even exabytes of information, right? Could be potentially stored. People who connect to their servers, if they're their own ISP, they have to store all of that. If you go and ask Facebook how much data that they have to store currently because of all of this legislation that's put onto them, right? You'll find it's an unbelievable amount of data, data which they can't sell. Now, I'm not even closely for Facebook and Facebook's information policies and how they sell it, but as a business, they are getting screwed royally here, which is good. You see, this is good, not because they're getting screwed, but because if a company like Facebook is losing money, they will not stand for this shit. They will be the ones who will be able to take governments to court, right, for these illegitimate practices. Google is the kind of company that can take, your country's government to court, right, and they will fight them until they can bankrupt them. They don't care, right? They have to protect their shareholders and they have to protect their business model. And if that means taking the government to court, well, so be it, right? And they've done it before. Google was a massive reason SOPA didn't even pass, right? They campaigned with money and they campaigned heavily against this stuff. Anyway, guys, that's all. I just wanted to let you guys, basically, just give you guys a heads up. I really highly recommend you read the Secret Trans-Pacific Partnership Agreement, the IP chapter specifically if you're an internet user, but this affects everyone. Agriculture, it doesn't matter what the industry is, it affects you guys as well. So I really heavily recommend you read this and get informed. Just learn things and know things, eventually we're going to have to run this stuff ourselves. These governments won't last forever if they keep doing these kinds of things. So get informed, know what's going on, and really take it with a pinch of salt at the end of the day. They'll say all this stuff and whatever. Don't be afraid to go down with the fight. Don't, as long as you're not doing anything, immoral and something that society wouldn't necessarily say, oh my god, you're a horrible person. If you think you're breaking a corrupt law, it's not really a law. If you didn't vote for it and the people didn't vote for it, fuck it, right? Like, honestly. No one voted for this TPP. We didn't even know about this TPP. That's why it's classified. So fuck it, right? Keep doing what you're doing, basically. And if they start throwing people in jail, what are they going to do? Throw the whole country in jail? Like, yeah, right. Good shit. Take people to court, right? Bankrupt people. They'll start again. You don't understand. Like, they don't understand how resilient people really are. Okay? Like, they think, oh, we'll just sit down and shut up and, and we won't do it. No. You put people in jail, you sue people, you bankrupt people. What is it? It's just money, right? You bankrupt people, they'll start again. They had the idea the first time that made them money. They'll do it again. It's really not a big deal. Okay? So, do it, guys. Go and start your ideas. Go and be entrepreneurs. And fuck all this legislation that stops you trying to be able to actually live a decent, free life. It's bullshit and it won't last. So, that's it, guys. I'm Bitwise Guy. Peace the fuck out.